They will test you. They will push to see where you break. They will watch silently for the slightest crack in your armor, because the world doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you embody. When you respect yourself, when you carry yourself as a man of principle and power, the world doesn't just notice, it bends. It obeys. Weak men crawl for scraps of validation. They stretch out their hands and beg for someone else to tell them they matter. Strong men don't need that. Strong men stand. Their very presence commands attention. The difference? Respect. Not respect from others. First, the kind you give yourself. The man who kneels to his own weakness becomes a slave, chained not by others, but by his own reflection. The man who honors his strength, who accepts nothing less than discipline and self-mastery, becomes untouchable. That's the law of power. That's the truth Machiavelli bled onto the page when he taught rulers how to conquer, and it hasn't changed. It never will. If you want to rise above mediocrity, if you want to escape the prison of the average man, engrave this into your soul. Self-respect is not optional. It is the foundation of domination. And I want you to prove to yourself that you understand this. Comment this right now. Respect is my throne. Stamp it in the comments like the seal of someone who refuses to be ruled. Number 1. The mirror of power. Look in the mirror. That is where the war begins. Not outside, not with your enemies, with you. That reflection is either your greatest ally or your deadliest traitor. And here's the truth. If you cannot govern yourself, you will never govern anything else. Most men fail right there. They tell themselves they are disciplined, but at the first temptation, they fold. They say they are strong, but the smallest setback crushes them. They lie to their own reflection every single day. And the world sees through them instantly. The world smells weakness before a word is even spoken. And once it does, it devours them without mercy. But the man who respects himself, he is different. He becomes a law unto himself. He doesn't beg for discipline. He enforces it. He doesn't ask if he's strong. He proves it through action. His decisions are not suggestions. They are commands, first to himself, then to the world. And because he obeys himself without question, others begin to obey him without even knowing why. Machiavelli was clear. Men admire power, not kindness. They follow strength, not virtue. That's the dark truth. So your self-respect isn't just pride. It's your armor, your weapon, your throne. The man who respects himself becomes untouchable because he answers to no weakness. So ask yourself this now. When you look in the mirror, do you see a man who keeps his word? Or do you see a man who sells himself out piece by piece every day? That's the dividing line between the ruled and the ruler. If you're ready to stand on the side of power, comment this right now. I betray no part of myself. Write it, seal it. Prove to yourself you're done being ruled. Number 2, the throne no one can take. Respect is not given. Respect is taken, and once it's taken, it must be guarded like treasure, because it is the only currency that matters in power. Forget money, forget status, forget popularity. All of those can be stripped from you overnight. But self-respect, true unshakable respect for yourself, no one can steal that. It is the root from which all dominance grows. Here's the dark truth. The world runs on hierarchy. Always has, always will. Men who respect themselves stand at the top. Men who don't are buried beneath them. Look around. Every workplace, every circle of friends, every relationship. There is always someone leading. There is always someone following. And you can tell instantly who is who. It's in their eyes, in their tone, in their posture. The leader respects himself. The follower doesn't. Weak men think respect means being nice. They believe if they avoid conflict, if they please everyone, they will be loved. But love without respect is worthless. People may like you, but they will never obey you. They will use you, drain you, and leave you behind when a stronger presence enters the room. That is the fate of the agreeable man. the man who thinks virtue is enough. Machiavelli made it clear, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And fear is born out of respect. But don't mistake this for cruelty. This isn't about screaming, threatening, or pretending to be a tyrant. That's weakness in disguise. True respect is colder, quieter. It's the way you hold yourself. It's the way you do not flinch, do not fold, do not betray your own standards. The man who respects himself never has to shout. He never has to beg. His silence carries more weight than another man's 1,000 words. And here's the psychology behind it. People are drawn to certainty. Most live in chaos, ruled by impulse, dragged around by emotion. When they meet someone unshakable, someone who does not betray himself, they cannot help but follow. It is primal, it is ancient. We are wired to obey those who master themselves. That's why your respect for yourself forces others to obey you. It is not a choice they make, it is instinct. But this path is not easy. It demands sacrifice. You must kill your excuses. You must starve your weakness. You must burn away the parts of yourself that keep crawling back to comfort. Comfort destroys kings. Discipline builds them. So ask yourself, which side of the hierarchy do you belong on? The side that bends or the side that commands? Are you chasing respect from others or are you forging it within yourself? That is the only question that matters. If you're ready to stop begging for respect and start seizing it, then write this in the comments right now. Respect is my currency. Show me you understand. Show me you're done playing the servant. Number 3. The fortress within. Strength is not what you show the world. Strength is what you enforce within yourself. A fortress does not ask for permission to stand tall. It resists storms. It resists fire. It resists siege. That is what you must become, a fortress within. Because the man who is not fortified inside will crumble at the first push from outside. Here's the truth no one likes to admit. People will test you, not once, not twice, but endlessly. They will press against your walls, searching for cracks. The moment they find one, they will exploit it. A weak man falls fast. A strong man is never tested the same way twice, because once people understand he cannot be broken, they stop trying. Your fortress is built brick by brick. Every decision you enforce, every weakness you kill, every boundary you defend, these are your walls. And once they're high enough, once they're unshakable, you carry something no one else can touch. Unbreakable presence. Think of it this way. A man without discipline is an open city. Anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave him empty. But the disciplined man, he is a fortress. His respect for himself builds gates others cannot cross. His silence becomes stone. His standards become steel. And this is the paradox. Once you become that fortress, you don't even need to fight. People feel the weight of your presence. They sense your boundaries before you speak. They sense that you will not bend. That silent resistance is more powerful than any loud demand. Machiavelli understood this. It is not the man who begs to be feared that commands obedience. It is the man who does not flinch when others attempt to test him. So guard yourself. Do not give weakness a door to slip through. Do not lower your walls for those who don't deserve entry. Respect yourself enough to remain fortified, even if it means standing alone. Because the fortress that stands alone commands more awe than the city that opens its gates to every stranger. But understand this, being a fortress comes with sacrifice. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold. You will be called distant, and that's exactly what you want. Let them call you cold, as long as they cannot call you weak. Respect yourself enough to be misjudged, because in the end, those who misjudge you will still obey you. So I'll ask you again, are you a fortress, or are you an open city waiting to be plundered? Decide, and when you decide, make it clear to yourself. Comment this now. My walls cannot be broken. Write it, etch it into your own psychology. Seal the oath. Number 4. The weapon of detachment. Attachment is the chain that drags men into weakness. Look closely at the world and you'll see it everywhere. Men chained to the opinions of strangers, Men chained to the affection of women who don't respect them. Men chained to jobs they hate, friends who drain them, habits that weaken them. They believe these chains give them safety, but in reality, they make them slaves. The man who cannot walk away is already conquered. That is why detachment is a weapon, not a soft idea, not a casual habit. A weapon, the kind of weapon that makes you dangerous, untouchable, and impossible to manipulate. The kind of weapon that forces the world to treat you differently. Because when you need nothing, no one can hold you hostage. But understand this, detachment is not about becoming cold stone. It is not about pretending you don't feel or walking through life numb. That is weakness in another mask. True detachment means you feel everything but bow to nothing. You can love, but you are not enslaved by love. You can fight, but you are not consumed by rage. You can succeed, but you are not destroyed by failure. You are always in control. Most men cannot handle this. They tie their worth to things outside themselves. Their job, their reputation, their possessions, their relationships. They cling desperately like drowning men clinging to driftwood. And that desperation is written all over them, in their faces, in their tone, in their eyes. The world senses it. And once the world knows what you cannot live without, it owns you. Detachment is the antidote, the cure to the disease of dependency. When you respect yourself enough to let go, you reclaim your freedom. Think of it like this. If someone disrespects you and you need their approval, you will fold. You will bargain with your dignity just to keep them close. But if you can walk away without hesitation, you've already won. Because now, the power is in your hands. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned rulers never to depend too much on allies, never to put themselves in a position where someone else held control. Why? Because dependency breeds betrayal. The prince who needs his allies becomes their servant, but the prince who can stand alone is untouchable. Apply this to your own life. If people see that you can cut ties without flinching, they respect you more. You are not desperate. You are not controllable. You are dangerous. And here's the dark psychology. Humans chase what they cannot control. The more you detach, the more magnetic you become. People lean closer, not further away. They respect your time more. They value your attention more. They fear losing you because they know you don't fear losing them. Detachment flips the balance of power instantly. But detachment comes at a price. It is not for the weak. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold, arrogant, selfish. Let them talk, because those who call you cold will still obey you. Those who call you arrogant will still respect you. Those who call you selfish will still envy you. Better to be called names than to live as a man who cannot say no, a man who cannot stand alone, a man who is ruled by everything but himself. Here is the hard truth. Comfort kills kings. Dependency kills warriors. The moment you need something too badly, you hand your crown to someone else. Detachment is the discipline of reclaiming it. It is the practice of saying, I respect myself too much to beg. I respect myself too much to kneel. I respect myself too much to trade my dignity for comfort. That's what makes you untouchable. And let's cut deeper. Detachment is not just about people. It is about everything. Detach from your cravings. Detach from the approval of strangers. Detach from the fear of failure. Detach from the illusion of control. When you detach, you gain clarity. You see the world as it is, not through the haze of desperation. Suddenly, your decisions become sharper. Your presence becomes heavier. Your words carry more weight because you are no longer negotiating with weakness. This is what makes you magnetic. People sense it instantly. They don't know why, but they feel it. Your energy says, I don't need you. I choose you, and that changes everything. Choice is power. Dependency is slavery. Most men are slaves because they do not understand this. You will not be one of them. So ask yourself now, who owns you? Whose opinion keeps you up at night? Whose approval do you secretly beg for? What habits keep you chained? Be brutally honest, because those chains are the reason you are not yet untouchable. Cut them, break them, burn them. If it disrespects you, if it weakens you, if it enslaves you, walk away. And here is the paradox. The more you walk away, the more the world runs after you. Detachment is not loss. It is leverage. It is freedom. And freedom is the highest form of respect. The man who needs nothing has already won. He is a fortress. He is a law unto himself. He is untouchable. So I'll give you a command now, not a suggestion, a command. If you are ready to break the chains of weakness, if you are ready to claim detachment as your weapon, then prove it. Write this in the comments right now. Nothing owns me. Not people, not fear, not failure, not comfort, nothing. Say it, seal it, own it, because until you master detachment, you will always be controlled. But once you do, you will command the world without even asking. Number 5. The shadow of fear. Fear is the oldest currency of power. Before wealth, before armies, before kings wore crowns, fear ruled men, and it still does. The man who is feared is obeyed. The man who is merely liked is tolerated. Understand this difference, because it will decide whether you command the room or get lost in it. People want to believe the world is built on fairness, kindness, and virtue. That is the lie of the weak. The truth, the Machiavellian truth, is this: men admire strength and they submit to fear. They will smile at kindness, but they will bow to fear. And the man who carries both, the man who is respected and feared, is untouchable. But don't misunderstand. Fear is not loud. It is not the rage of a bully or the temper of a tyrant. That's weakness wearing a mask. True fear is silent. It's in the way you do not break when others fold. It's in the way you stand calm in storms that make other men panic. It's in the way you hold your standards without flinching, no matter the pressure. That is where real fear is born, not from threats, but from presence. A man like that doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to explain himself. His silence carries more weight than another man's arguments. His stillness creates unease. His refusal to bend forces others to bend around him. That's why the feared man controls the room without speaking. His strength is psychological. And here's the darker truth. People don't even resent it. Deep down, they want it. Humans are wired to follow the strong. We are tribal by nature. We search for the leader who does not fold. Fear creates order. Fear creates respect. Fear creates loyalty. Machiavelli wrote it centuries ago. It is safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is fickle. Love is conditional. Love fades. But fear endures. Fear binds. Fear commands. But here's the paradox. The man who is feared must also be respected. If you create fear without respect, you breed hatred. And hatred plots in silence. That is the downfall of the tyrant. But if you root your fear in respect, self-respect first, then respect from others, you create a power that cannot be shaken. People will not hate you, they will revere you, even if they never say it aloud. So how do you create this kind of fear? It starts with boundaries. Weak men let the world step on them. Strong men draw lines and enforce them without apology. Every time you enforce a boundary, you teach people that crossing you has consequences. You don't need to scream, you don't need to threaten. You simply make it clear disrespect is not tolerated, ever. And once people know this, they fear losing your presence. That fear is more powerful than any physical threat. Psychology confirms it. People respect what they fear losing. The boss who enforces his standards calmly is feared more than the boss who yells. The man who is silent in conflict is feared more than the man who explodes. Why? Because self-control is terrifying. It means you are in command of yourself. And if you command yourself, you can command anyone else. But building this presence demands discipline. It demands that you respect yourself so completely, so absolutely, that no one doubts it. That is the kind of man people fear, the man who bows to nothing, not even to his own weakness. That is why fear begins with self-mastery. When you fear betraying yourself more than anything else, the world fears betraying you. Now, let's go deeper. Fear creates distance. And distance creates mystique. When people cannot read you, when they cannot predict you, when they cannot control you, they begin to fear you. They fear what they do not understand. That is why you must remain detached, unreadable, and unpredictable. Predictability is the enemy of power. Mystery is its armor. Think about the most dangerous men in history. They were not loud, they were not reckless, they were unreadable. And because no one could anticipate them, everyone feared them. That is the essence of Machiavellian strategy. Never show your full hand, never reveal your full self, never allow others to believe they own your next move. That shadow of uncertainty creates fear more powerful than any threat ever could. But let me be clear, fear is not cruelty. Fear is respect sharpened into steel. Fear is the acknowledgement that you are not to be tested. Fear is the understanding that you are a fortress, and when fear and respect blend together, you do not need to beg for power. Power comes to you. So here is the question. Do people fear losing you? Or do they take you for granted? Do people hesitate before crossing you? Or do they cross you daily because they know you will fold? Your answer to that question will reveal your position in the hierarchy of power. If you want to command, if you want to be untouchable, you must embrace fear, not as a mask, not as a trick, but as a presence. The man who is feared is the man who is free. Because fear is leverage, fear is armor, fear is shadow, and now it is your turn to claim it. If you are ready to embrace fear, not as weakness, not as cruelty, but as power, then write this in the comments right now. My presence commands respect. Write it, seal it. Prove that you are done living as a man others can ignore. Because once you carry the shadow of fear within you, the world does not just respect you, it obeys you. Number 6, the art of perception. Power is not just about what you are, it is about what they think you are. Perception shapes reality. A man may be strong, but if the world perceives him as weak, he will be treated as weak. A man may be ruthless, but if the world perceives him as harmless, he will be stepped on like the rest. The battlefield of power is not only fought in action, it is fought in perception. And the man who controls perception controls everything. This is Machiavellian law. People see what you show them, not what you are. Most men make the mistake of exposing their entire selves to the world. They reveal their weaknesses, their emotions, their vulnerabilities. They think honesty will win trust, but honesty without strategy is suicide. The world does not reward raw truth. It rewards crafted illusion. That is why you must master the art of perception. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to reveal your every thought. In fact, the less you reveal, the more power you hold. Silence makes people wonder. Mystery makes them project their fears and fantasies onto you. And when they project, you gain control. What they imagine about you is always more powerful than what you actually say. Understand this. People are not rational. They are emotional. They think they make decisions with logic, but perception shapes them long before reason kicks in. If you appear strong, they will treat you as strong. If you appear untouchable, they will obey. If you appear certain, they will follow, even if you doubt inside. That is the paradox of power. It is not always the strongest who rules, but the one who seems the strongest. Look at history. The greatest rulers, conquerors, and leaders understood this. They crafted their image like armor. Caesar did not march into Rome asking to be respected. He marched like he was already destined to rule. Napoleon wore silence and certainty like steel, letting his aura bend men to his will. Machiavelli himself warned princes, appear virtuous, but act as needed, because appearance commands loyalty, even when the truth is ruthless. So how do you build perception? First, control your presence. Never be frantic, never be rushed. The man who moves slowly and deliberately, who doesn't scramble to explain himself, is perceived as powerful. Second, control your emotions. Rage may feel strong, but it exposes you as weak and reactive. Coldness, calmness, unshakable composure. These terrify people because they signal mastery. Third, control your narrative. Don't explain yourself. Don't justify. Speak less. But when you speak, let your words cut with precision. And here's a rule: never show everything. Hide your weaknesses. Conceal your doubts. Keep your struggles in the shadows where no one can exploit them. The less they know, the more they respect. The more they wonder, the more they fear. Mystery is your armor. Predictability is your death. Think of it this way: when people cannot read you, they are unsettled. When they cannot predict you, they tread carefully. When they cannot control you, they respect you, even against their will. Uncertainty makes you dangerous. That is why the unreadable man commands more power than the transparent one. Transparency is worshipped by the weak, but in reality, it is just another form of exposure, and exposure makes you vulnerable. Here is the cold psychology. People respect projection more than reality. If you project certainty, they will believe it. If you project strength, they will obey it. If you project dominance, they will submit. Perception becomes reality, not because it is true, but because it is believed. That is why controlling perception is not manipulation. It is survival. But understand this: perception is not about lies. Lies collapse eventually. Perception is about craft. It is about showing the world the strongest parts of you and withholding the rest. You are not inventing a false version of yourself. You are weaponizing the truth by revealing only what strengthens you. So ask yourself, what does the world currently perceive you as? Do they see strength or do they see weakness? Do they see certainty or do they see hesitation? Do they see a man to obey or a man to dismiss? Be ruthless in your answer, because the way they see you today determines how they treat you tomorrow. And here is where you take control. From this moment, you no longer allow the world to define your image. You define it yourself. You design it. You decide what they see, and you discard what weakens you. You make perception your armor. And when you do, people will never again treat you as ordinary. They will never again step on you as though you are replaceable. They will bow, not because you demanded it, but because they cannot imagine doing anything else. This is why perception is the highest form of strategy. It is war without swords, conquest without blood. Control how others see you, and you control their behavior towards you. Lose control of perception, and you lose power, even if your strength is real. Because in this world, reality is less important than belief. So here is your command. Craft your perception like a weapon. Move with calm. Speak with weight. Keep parts of yourself hidden. Never reveal your full hand. Become unreadable. Become mysterious. Become cold and certain. And when the world looks at you, let them see not a man begging for respect, but a man already crowned with it. If you are ready to master this, then write this in the comments right now. I control what they see. Declare it. Stamp it. Prove that you are no longer a victim of perception. You are the architect of it. Because once you control perception, you control belief. Once you control belief, you control reality. And once you control reality, the world is no longer free. It belongs to you. Number 7. The strings of influence. Power is never just about force. Force is blunt, obvious, and temporary. The true masters of power don't push, they pull. They don't scream, they whisper. They don't shove, they make others want to move exactly where they wanted them all along. That is manipulation. That is the art of pulling the strings of influence. And if you refuse to learn it, you will be the puppet, not the master. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote that men are simple, predictable, and easily deceived. They trust appearances, they crave rewards, they fear punishment. Once you understand this, the game changes forever. You stop fighting against the tide of human nature and start steering it in your favor. Here is the cold truth. Most people don't think for themselves. They react. They respond to signals, to pressure, to suggestion. They are driven by emotion, not reason, and that makes them manipulable. If you can read what they crave, what they fear, and what they hate, you can guide them without them ever knowing. That is influence. That is silent control. But here is the first rule. Influence begins with detachment. If you are desperate, if you need their approval, you cannot manipulate anyone. You will be too transparent. They will smell your need and exploit it. The manipulator must always appear free above the chaos, calm, while others panic. That composure itself becomes leverage. People listen to the man who doesn't chase. People follow the man who doesn't beg. Detachment is the soil in which manipulation grows. The second rule, control perception. People believe what they see more than what they hear. Appear strong, and they assume you are strong. Appear confident, and they assume you are right. Appear unbothered, and they assume you are in control. Most people never question the surface. They take what they see as truth. This is why crafting perception is half the battle of manipulation. You don't need to convince them with words if your presence has already done the convincing. The third rule, weaponize reward and denial. People chase what they cannot fully have. If you give too much, they devalue it. If you give nothing, they walk away. But if you give in fragments, just enough to spark desire, just enough to create hunger, they will chase endlessly. This works in relationships, in business, in influence of every kind. Give approval in pieces, give attention in doses, pull back when they expect you to give more. That tension builds obsession, and obsession creates obedience. The fourth rule, master silence. Weak men reveal too much. They talk, explain, justify. The strong man withholds. He speaks less, and every word he does speak feels heavier. Silence makes people fill in the blanks with their own imagination, and their imagination always builds you bigger, stronger, more mysterious than reality. That is why silence is more persuasive than speeches. It is a blank canvas others paint their fears and fantasies onto. And the fifth rule, exploit predictability. People are creatures of habit. They reveal themselves in patterns, how they react to stress, how they handle praise, how they chase approval. Watch closely. Study them. Once you know their patterns, you can predict them. Once you predict them, you can control them. Influence is not about forcing someone to act. It is about arranging the environment so that they act exactly as you expected. This is why manipulation is not cruelty. It is strategy. It is control without resistance. It is power without noise. When you pull the strings, people move as if by their own choice, never realizing the hand that guided them. That is the highest level of influence, to bend men without them even knowing they have bent. But here is the warning: manipulation without discipline collapses into chaos. If you manipulate only for pleasure, if you manipulate without purpose, you will destroy yourself. The true Machiavellian does not manipulate out of boredom. He manipulates with precision, with intent, with clarity. Every string he pulls leads to power, not distraction. Every move he makes brings him closer to untouchable control. And here is the darker layer. Influence works best when blended with fear. When people admire you, they may follow. When people desire your approval, they may obey. But when you combine admiration, desire, and fear, they become loyal beyond reason. That is the triangle of control: respect, hunger, and fear. Cultivate all three, and you can make men move mountains for you without ever raising your voice. So ask yourself this now. Are you pulling the strings, or are you the puppet? Are you controlling perception, or are you a slave to how others see you? Are you guiding others' behavior, or are you being guided like a pawn? Be ruthless in your answer, because your entire position in the hierarchy of power depends on it. If you are ready to shift from pawn to player, from the controlled to the controller, then take this command seriously. Comment this right now. I pull the strings. Write it. Seal it. Prove that you are no longer moved by the hands of others, but that you are ready to become the unseen hand behind the curtain. Because when you master influence, you no longer fight for power. Power comes to you, and the world moves, not because it chose to, but because you pulled the strings. Number 8. The throne of discipline. Power gained without discipline is power destined to collapse. You can learn detachment, you can master perception, you can even pull the strings of influence with precision. But without ruthless self-mastery, without the iron law of discipline, everything you build will eventually turn to dust. Discipline is not optional. Discipline is the throne upon which all power sits. And only those who sit firmly on that throne can call themselves untouchable. Most men never reach it. They want power, but they cannot command their appetites. They crave respect, but they kneel to distraction. They want influence, but they drown in comfort. These men talk about power, but they betray themselves daily. They collapse under their own weight, not because the world crushed them, but because they lacked the spine to govern themselves. A man without discipline is already conquered. He simply hasn't realized it yet. Here is the brutal truth. Every weakness inside you is a door others can walk through. Do you explode when you're angry? Then your enemies already own you. Do you fold when you're lonely? Then approval will enslave you. Do you collapse when tempted by pleasure? Then your cravings hold the leash around your neck. Weakness is not private, it is public. The world sees it, the world smells it, and the world exploits it. That is why self-mastery is not some ideal, it is survival. Machiavelli himself warned rulers about this exact trap. Princes were not destroyed by their enemies' swords, but by their own lack of restraint. Their indulgence, their recklessness, their failure to govern themselves. You are no different. If you cannot discipline yourself, the world will discipline you, mercilessly. So discipline becomes the first battlefield. It is not about punishment. It is not about rigid routines for the sake of routines. Discipline is ownership. Every act of discipline says to the world, I belong to myself. Every act of weakness screams, I am for sale. The man who betrays himself will eventually betray everyone else. The man who commands himself will eventually command everyone else. Think of discipline as a throne. Every time you choose control over weakness, you rise higher on that throne. Every time you collapse into distraction, you slide down. And make no mistake, others can see exactly where you sit. The undisciplined man cannot hide it. His eyes reveal it. His posture reveals it. His words betray him. But the disciplined man radiates something different. Certainty, stillness, weight. People feel it before he speaks. That aura is power. Psychology proves this. Humans instinctively respect what they cannot imitate. They fear what they cannot match. Most people cannot enforce discipline on themselves. So when they meet someone who does, they admire it. They envy it. They bow to it, even if they never admit it out loud. That is why disciplined men rise above crowds of undisciplined ones. Their self-command creates an aura others cannot ignore. But here's the part most men never accept. Discipline is not glamorous. Discipline is cold. Discipline is silent. Discipline is sacrifice. It means you will wake when others sleep. You will grind when others rest. You will starve the distractions others feed on. You will look at pleasure, comfort, and indulgence and walk away without flinching. That is why they mock you. That is why they call you obsessed, extreme, inhuman. But the truth is simpler. They call you obsessed because you remind them of their weakness. They call you inhuman because you expose their lack of control. And one day, the same people who mocked you will bow to the results of your discipline. They will stand in awe of the fortress you built while they were wasting time. They will envy the crown you forged while they drowned in comfort. And they will obey the man who respected himself enough to sit on the throne they never had the strength to touch. History makes this law clear. Rome was not built on indulgence, it was built on discipline. Empires did not expand under men who chased comfort, but under men who sacrificed everything to command themselves and their armies. The samurai of Japan lived by absolute discipline, where honor and self-mastery were more valuable than life itself. The Spartans became legend not because they indulged, but because they restrained, controlled, and sharpened themselves into weapons. Restraint is not weakness. It is the steel that cuts through history. So here is your law. Master yourself before you attempt to master others. Silence your excuses. crush your cravings, govern your impulses. This is not just about building power, it is about survival in a world that feeds on weakness. Every moment you enforce discipline, you announce to the world, I am untouchable, and every time you betray discipline, you announce the opposite, I can be broken. But now, look at yourself with no illusions. What owns you? What weakness still pulls your strings? Is it distraction? Is it lust? Is it fear of rejection? Is it the craving for approval? That is your enemy. That is your chain. And until it is destroyed, you are not free. Ruthlessly cut it, burn it, replace it with iron control, because one chain is all it takes to drag a man off the throne. So here is your command, not advice, a command. If you are ready to claim the throne of discipline, if you are ready to sit where few men ever sit, then prove it. Comment this right now. I sit on the throne of discipline. Write it, seal it, declare it to yourself. Because discipline is the final test, and once you pass it, no enemy, no manipulator, no temptation will ever drag you down again. Discipline is the throne of kings. Sit on it or kneel forever. Number 9, the final seal of power. Power is not given. Respect is not charity. Obedience is never born out of kindness. All of it, respect, fear, loyalty, influence, is forged in fire. And that fire must first burn inside you. The law is eternal. The man who cannot command himself will never command others. The man who does becomes untouchable. Everything you've heard until now has been building to this. Detachment, perception, fear, influence, discipline. All of it means nothing without the seal that binds it together. Self-respect. It is the foundation. It is the crown. It is the one thing no man can steal from you, unless you hand it over willingly. And yet, most men do just that. They hand it over daily. They sell their self-respect cheap. They lie to themselves, break their own word, betray their own reflection, and wonder why the world walks all over them. If you kneel to yourself, you will kneel to everyone else. That is the raw truth. Weak men live as beggars. They beg for approval, for attention, for validation. They are desperate for someone else to crown them, but no one ever will. The man who waits for others to respect him dies on his knees. The man who respects himself crowns himself, and the world bows whether it wants to or not. And understand this, the world does not care about your dreams. It does not care about your excuses. It does not care about what you could be if things were different. The world only respects strength. Cold, undeniable, self-forged strength. That is the only currency of power that holds its value. Everything else is smoke. Machiavelli wrote it centuries ago, men admire strength, not virtue. They submit to power, not kindness. That law has never changed. The man who projects certainty commands obedience. The man who radiates self-respect commands loyalty. And the man who embodies both, he does not ask for power. Power comes to him. This is the final seal, to live in such ruthless alignment with yourself that you cannot be bent, cannot be bought, cannot be shaken. When you reach that point, the game ends. You have won. But make no mistake, this path is merciless. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold, arrogant, ruthless. But let them call you what they will, because behind the insults hides fear. Behind the mockery hides envy. Behind their judgment hides obedience. They may not admit it. They may never say it, but they will feel it. And feeling is all that matters. So let me give you the coldest truth yet. If they do not respect you, they will never love you. If they do not respect you, they will never obey you. If they do not respect you, they will never follow you. Respect is the seed from which all other things grow. Without it, you are invisible. With it, you are immortal. That is why this final oath matters. It is not just words, it is the binding seal. From this moment, you respect yourself above all else. You do not tolerate weakness. You do not bow to temptation. You do not break your word to yourself, because every time you respect yourself, the world is forced to respect you. And every time you betray yourself, the world joins in the betrayal. So carve this into your mind like a law. When I respect myself, the world obeys. Say it aloud. write it in stone, stamp it into your own reflection, and then declare it now in the comments. The world obeys because I respect myself. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Seal it as your law. Seal it as your throne. Because here is the last test, action. The weak man listens and does nothing. The weak man feels inspired and forgets tomorrow. The weak man collects wisdom like trinkets, but never wields it, and so he remains weak forever. But the untouchable man takes it. He applies it. He lives it. He disciplines himself until it becomes his second nature. He becomes a fortress of respect, so unshakable that the world cannot move him. And once the world cannot move him, the world obeys him. Action separates kings from pawns. Action decides who rules and who is ruled. Action is the only proof of power. So this is your final command. Take what you have heard and carve it into action. Respect yourself until it radiates. Enforce discipline until it hardens. Control perception until it bends others. Pull the strings until they dance without knowing. And when the storms come, stand still while others panic. That is how you become untouchable. This is Seires. This is not entertainment. This is war. The war between weakness and strength, between mediocrity and greatness, between being ruled and becoming the ruler. So like this video, subscribe to Seires, turn on notifications, because this was the seal, but it is not the end. It is only the beginning. The doctrine of power runs deeper, darker, colder, and if you are ready to hear it, you will return. Remember this forever. When you respect yourself, the world has no choice but to bow. That is the final seal of power. Number 10. The echo of legacy. The weak are forgotten. Their names vanish into the dust of history. Their lives dissolve into silence because they built nothing, commanded nothing, and respected nothing. They lived like shadows, and the world treated them as shadows, there, then gone, without weight. But the untouchable man, the man who mastered himself, who forged discipline into armor, who respected himself so fiercely that the world was forced to bow, he is remembered. He carves his mark into time itself. His presence does not fade when his body does. His echo remains. His legacy whispers long after his silence. This is the final law of power. Legacy is not built in death. Legacy is built in how you live. Every act of self-respect etches itself into the stone of memory. Every boundary you enforce, every discipline you uphold, every ounce of strength you carry, it all writes your name into the minds of those who witness you. And when enough see, when enough feel, you become unforgettable. But the weak, their lives are erased before their bodies even rot. They never respected themselves, so the world never respected them. They betrayed their own reflection, so history betrays them as well. Look around you. How many men waste their lives chasing comfort, drowning in distraction, enslaved to craving? Countless. Their graves will be silent, their names forgotten, their lives erased. They lived kneeling, and so they died invisible. You must never be one of them. Legacy demands sacrifice. It demands that you live differently, that you carry yourself as a fortress while others crumble, that you stand unshakable while others fold, that you build your name in stone while others scribble theirs in sand. Legacy belongs only to those who respect themselves enough to pay the price for immortality. And here is the cruelest truth. The world will not remember what you wanted. It will not remember what you dreamed. It will not remember what you could have been. It will only remember what you enforced, what you embodied, what you proved through action. Dreams die, excuses rot, actions echo. Ask yourself this now. What will they say when you are gone? Will they say you begged for respect and lived on your knees? Or will they say you walked through life as a fortress, cold, unshakable, commanding respect without asking for it? Will they say you wasted your years chasing approval? Or will they say you carried yourself with such weight that the world had no choice but to bow? This is the difference between being forgotten and being eternal. Weakness erases you. Respect immortalizes you. Machiavelli wrote his truths centuries ago, and his name still echoes. Why? Because his philosophy was cold, sharp, unforgettable. He carved his name into history not by seeking approval, but by writing what others feared to admit. That is legacy. And if he can do it with words, you can do it with presence, with action, with respect. So build your legacy now. Every day is a stone, every decision is mortar, every discipline enforced is another wall. Build it tall, build it unshakable, and when you are gone, your fortress will remain. That is the echo of legacy. But here's the price. Legacy demands loneliness. Legacy demands sacrifice. Legacy demands that you carry burdens others refuse to carry. You will be mocked. You will be doubted. You will be envied. Let them mock. Let them doubt. Let them envy. Because when their names vanish, yours will remain. When their voices fade, yours will still echo. When their presence dissolves, yours will still command. Legacy is not a choice. It is a verdict. Either you will be erased or you will be remembered. Either your life will vanish or it will echo. And the verdict is decided by how you respect yourself now. So here is the final question. Will you be forgotten? Or will you be feared, respected, and obeyed forever? Will you vanish like the countless weak? Or will your name be whispered long after you are gone? This is the moment to decide. And once you decide, declare it. Comment this below. My legacy is untouchable. Write it, seal it, claim it as your oath. Because once you declare it, you must live it. Every action, every choice, every discipline must serve the echo of your legacy. And here is the paradox. One day, everything you own will rot. Your possessions will be gone. Your body will be dust. Your voice will fall silent. But your legacy, your self-respect, your discipline, your presence can outlive you. It can echo through generations. It can make your name heavier than stone. That is why legacy matters. Not for vanity, not for ego, but for power that outlives flesh. That is the true immortality of the untouchable. So carry yourself like a fortress, live like a king, walk like a ruler, respect yourself so fiercely that your presence leaves scars on time itself. Do this and you will never die. Your body may fall, but your echo will not. That is the doctrine of legacy. That is the final law of power. And remember this forever. The world obeys men who respect themselves, but it remembers men who build legacies of unshakable respect. Be the latter, be untouchable, be eternal.